You're listening to Factual America. Welcome back to Factual America. I'm here with Derek Wayne Johnson, the director, producer, writer, and editor of 40 Years of Rocky, the birth of a classic, as it's known in the USA and Canada, and Becoming Rocky, the birth of a classic, as it's known everywhere else. So, Derek, how did a kid from Carthage, Texas, become the unofficial or official documentarian for Sly Stallone and his family?
Wow. Well, I've been a huge Stallone fan my whole life, and Rocky's my favorite movie. Well, it ties for first with The Karate Kid, which is how I got into this world in the first place. Yeah. John Avildsen, who directed both of those films. And so, I don't know, just one thing led after the other. When I befriended John and made the doc on him, naturally Sly was in it. And as you know, I met Frank, decided to do a doc on Frank. That was actually my producing partner, who's from the UK, Emmett James, came up with the idea to do the documentary on Frank. And then that led to the Rocky documentary. So it's just kind of like this weird, unofficial Stallone-esque, Rocky-esque trilogy that I never really set out to do. As a matter of fact, I do feature films, but I wouldn't change it for the world. The Stallones have been really good to me. And, you know, I had dreams as a kid from Carthage, Texas, which is in the middle of nowhere in East Texas. And those films inspired me to go for it. And I got to meet my heroes, and here we are.
The narration. I mean, you said previously, I think that was either, well, it was sort of off the cuff or ad-libbed, wasn't it? Or just, how did that work? Did you just slide down and say, here's the film, this is what I want to show, I want you to narrate it? How did that production, that side of it work?
Well, a couple of things on that. One of the best comments that I've heard a fan or a critic, I can't remember who, said was, it feels like you're just sitting in Sly's living room.
Exactly.
As he's watching the lights flicker. And it's like, actually, yeah. So that is kind of what happened. I asked Sly, I was like, do you want me to script it out or write it out? He said, no. I got this. So as the director, as the writer, as the editor, as the producer, that makes me kind of nervous, right? So what I did was I wrote out an outline for myself, and I wrote out notes for him, and I sent him the notes the night before. When we got there to his house, we were just in his man cave with the big screen, and we're just hanging out. It's kind of like a bar. And he did it all in one take.
That's what it sounds like, actually.
It sounds like it, and it's so organic. And I'm looking down, I have my headphones on. I'm looking down, and he's hitting every note.
Amazing.
To this day, I don't know if he actually read my notes the night before, but he was hitting every note. I was marking them out as we went. But there's two things. He did give me an intro and an outro. I don't even know if outro is a word.
We use it.
You use it? Okay. Yeah. He did give me that way I could bookend it. I would know where I'm starting, where I'm ending. He did do that for me. And it was one take, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's amazing. Well, one last, I think I mentioned, maybe I've even mentioned, specific scene. I think it, for me at least, it highlighted how he is this consummate filmmaker. And it's this scene in the film Rocky where he's supposed to, he's running this on a budget. He shows up at the ice rink, and basically he's supposed to be filming this in front of 300 plus extras. And maybe you can talk to us about what happened then.
Absolutely. So they get there, and John Avildsen is told, we don't have any extras. And he goes, why? And they're like, well, we don't have it in the budget. So, at first that scene actually was going to be written where they're just kind of sitting down, I believe, in like a cafe or something. And as John Avildsen said, it was pretty boring. And so they came up with the ice rink scene, but they couldn't afford the extras. And in that scene, you'll find in the doc, Sly talks about how he gets jealous of this skater who's like showing off or whatever. And I guess Adrian is taken by him or whatever. And there's like this whole world around this ice rink. But because they couldn't afford it, they had to think on their feet. So John Avildsen said, wait a second, how about it's closed, but they have their date anyway? So Sly went and rewrote the scene to fit that. And one of the most charming, romantic movie dates in history was born. Yeah. So it kind of just goes to show you that this movie's probably better because they didn't have a big budget.
Yeah.
They had to think on their feet. And Sly and John, they had this connection where they could kind of read each other. And if one of them had an idea, they wouldn't shoot each other down. They would go with it. And lo and behold, the ice rink scene.